Okay, welcome back everybody. So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to build out the sidebar. So again, this is a blog, and usually blog templates have a sidebar that gives you categories, recent posts, suggested articles, stuff like that. So we're going to build a sidebar, and just like the anatomy that I showed you earlier, we have our header and our footer, and then we have the sidebar here. So we haven't done this yet, but we're going to modularize our header. We modularize the footer, and we're going to review that. So essentially, every page that you create is just going to be this section, the loop, which is the body content. So in this video, we're going to create our sidebar. Okay, we're using WordPress. And so Bootstrap, I'm going to be using Bootstrap to build this because they make it really easy. Since they use the columns here, again, from last video I mentioned this. So Bootstrap, they build their responsive websites based on columns. So there are 12 columns, and imagine that these pink elements here are like your div classes. So you can say I want 3 columns on a row. So that's kind of how it works, and we're going to set it up that way. So just like the anatomy here, we're going to have a big body content section and then a little sidebar here. So we can do that pretty easily using Bootstrap. So if you recall from last video, I used the call mid 6. And so I did that, and our website here is half and half. Okay, and I'm not going to worry about correcting this styling right now. Obviously, I'd want this to go up a little bit and adjust the nav to be even with it, but we're not going to worry about that right now. But I did want to point out that this is half and half, and so we're going to kind of do the same thing. But before I get into that, let's just hurry and go over what this is. So as I said, that there's 12 columns. Okay, so this number here represents how many columns that you want this div element to represent. This just states this is a call, and then this MD stands for medium. So there's actually quite a bit of these. So there's a there is an extra small, a small, a medium, and a large. Okay, so Bootstrap gives you this, and what that stands for is screen size. So on a medium screen size, we're going to have a 6 and 6. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. On a larger screen, we're going to have 6 and 6. Now the way that it works is smallest to largest. So let's say that I want this to be 6 and 6, but then on an extra small screen, so like a phone, I want it to be 12. And what that means is I want all 12 columns I want to maximize that. So this is going to be full width. So I would do that on both of these because I want it to be the logo, and then underneath the logo I want it to be the main nav for my responsive site. Okay, usually I always just leave it at medium. You don't really have to go large because, you know, I don't know, that's just my take on it, but that's kind of how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our sidebar and our body content. So let's create a div class. I'm just going to call this body content. Okay, and then always leave comments after so you know where this div ends off, because you don't want to get confused. Okay, I'm just calling this sidebar. Okay, so this is easy. So now that we have it created, we can go back and we can say, okay, well, let's do a column that's medium. And I'm going to say I want this to be 12 columns. Or 10 columns, sorry. Again, it works at a length of 12 columns, so I need that to be a 2. And that 10 plus 2 equals 12. Okay, if I did a 13, it would break, because it needs to equal 12. That's how the Bootstrap works. There are 12 green columns here. Cool. So we have that built here. And so what I can do from here is kind of set up my sidebar to do what I want it to. So there's a couple of different things that we can do within the sidebar. So let's see here. we can display our categories. Okay, we can list pages, we can list our categories. So what you can do is you can open up PHP. Let's just close it off right there. We can go WP list categories. This is a function that we're calling. Okay, so by default, this is a WordPress function. So they have made this function. We're calling that in PHP. So that's a command that we can use. Okay. Another thing that we can do is we can list pages if that's something that we want to do. And that's WP list pages. So what you'll want to do, depending on how you want your content to look, you can just set it up. So, you know, list pages. You can have it look any way you want. So we'll just add some H6 tags here. List categories. Okay, we're going to make this look a little bit nicer, so it's a little bit more readable. So there's a couple of things that you can do there, and then obviously you can go in and you can get a little bit more crazy. You can wrap UL tags around this PHP script, something that we can go and look at. But essentially, this is what it's going to look like. So now that we have that set up, you can add anything inside your body content. You can add images, you can add text, you know, boxes, icons, whatever, you know, suits your needs. So let's go ahead, now that this is saved, I don't think anything's going to show up here. Oh, cool, yeah. Perfect. I forgot that there's a default uncategorized category and a sample page. So if I click on that, it takes me to those respective pages. You can tell because my URL now says category, which is the category, and then the category name, sample pages, it takes me to the sample page name. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this. Let's create a category. So in WordPress, we can go to posts, categories, and then create a category name. I'm going to call this one just pizza. Pies for pies. It's a food blog. We don't need to give it a parent name, so that looks good. And here's a list of our current category. So we'll add the category pizza. Okay, and so if you don't want this, you can edit it, you can change it, you can do whatever you want with it. If we refresh the page, let's see. Do I have to go back to my home page, or is it not showing? Let me see why it's not showing up. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. I figured out what was going on. The reason why it wasn't showing up is because I didn't have a post for it. So I created a post called Pizza Post. There's nothing in there. But the reason why it wasn't showing up is because it didn't have, it wasn't assigned to anything. So it was just empty. So if there's an empty category, it will not display. So now that I assigned a blog to it, it will show you that it's showing up there now. Also, while I was troubleshooting, I was adding some other code that I was going to get into. So I'll show that to you. Before, when I left, it just was a bullet point, but now I have it to show you how many blogs are inside each category. So it's the exact same thing that we did, we're just going to add on to it. And so I created an array, and then again, this is all WordPress stuff, but we have the title li. So if you know anything about UL, li, when you create a list, you use the UL and then li tags to list out that information. That's what this is. Order, we're going to do ascending. That's what that is. You can also do descending. Hide empty. And so if it's empty, then it will, and then it's going to show the count. So the ones kind of turn it on. So if you like it like that, you can leave it. You can use this code, you can pause it and copy this code down, and that way it kind of looks a little bit more professional that way. By default, I also removed that, but by default, WordPress gives you this. I wrote list pages, but by default, they'll say pages and then put it in the block. If you do want to get rid of that, what you can do, oh, I activated the Hangouts. Anyway, what you can do, there's something that we can do that says it's another array. So you can open up an array, and then inside the array you can do title li, and then is equal to or greater than blank. So if you do that, it gets rid of it, and it looks a little bit nicer, I think, because it's not bulleted. And then we can space this out later, but that essentially is how it works. So we can list a couple of pages here, or just categories. Okay, so that's the sidebar right there. I'm going to kind of leave it at that because that's essentially all I wanted to go over today. Maybe just kind of show you how everything will work. I'll just add a quick welcome to my site, and we'll just text generator. We'll just add some text so you can kind of see how it will look. Okay. So boom, you can kind of see how it's listed like that. So that's essentially how it's going to work. You'll see that it's completely responsive because it's all in Bootstrap. Again, there's still some formatting that we would need to correct, like this would need to go up and centered, and we'd want this to turn into a little hamburger icon. But essentially it's doing exactly what we want, and it's completely responsive, and that's awesome. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial. So the next tutorial, we're going to get into setting up looping calls to loop content for each of the individual pages, and so we're going to get a little bit more involved with that. So hope you guys like this video. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, do all of that jazz, and I'll see you in the next video.